This time on Engine Masters, it is the Cheap Carburetor Showdown. Welcome to our low buck carburetor shootout. Now, everything that we've got here is a 4-barrel carburetor advertised as having 750 CFM. We've got the $264 rebuilt Summit carburetor. We've got the $301 remanufactured Edelbrock Performer, and we've got the $355 Street Demon. Now, the other thing that's in common with all of these carburetors is that they are not a Holley 4150 series. As you know, Engine Masters is kind of known for maybe liking carburetors just a little bit too much, and this is always our carb of choice, unless we're going with a Dominator. This is the Holley 4150 series with the removable float bowls. It's called a modular carburetor. It's so much the industry standard that it's been knocked off a bunch of times. We love them, but we're not going to use it this time. I specifically wanted to pick carburetors that we were not as familiar with and find out which is the best one. Now, the Edelbrock that we've gone with here is their Performer series based on the Carter AFB, and these things are hugely popular. They've been around for 2 decades plus. They make them in a bunch of different CFM ratings, 500, 600, 750, and even 800. This is the 750 CFM model. It is cheaper at $301 because it is a remanufactured version. The next one is the cheapest carburetor, period, that you can buy at Summit Racing with a 750 CFM ranking. It is the Summit brand carburetor. They call it an M2008. Now, this design was actually created by Holley like a dozen or 15 years ago, and now they are exclusive to Summit. It looks very much like one of those older Autolite carburetors that has a one-piece removable top. The thing that's kind of cool about them is that they take Holley tune-up parts like jets and power valves and things like that. You can get these in a couple different CFM ratings, and you can get vacuum secondary or mechanical secondary. So our last carburetor is also the most expensive. It's right behind me. It is the Street Demon for $355. It looks a lot like an old Carter thermoquad, but it really isn't. It has a lot of upgrades. It's smoother, it's better looking, and what really separates it from the other two is it's not a 4-barrel, actually. It is a 3-barrel. It's got a big oval-shaped throttle valve in the back of it, and it does have a big notch in it that makes it 4-barrel-ish, but that notch makes it so it'll fit on a regular intake manifold, and as a matter of fact, it will fit on any intake designed for a Holley 4150 carburetor. It doesn't take a spread bore intake at all. The engine that we're going to be testing all these on is our good old PET 383. You've seen this thing a zillion times on Engine Masters. The most important thing to know is that it makes about 470 pound-feet, about 460 horsepower, and everything that we're doing with these carburetors is going to apply to whatever engine you have that is roughly in that same power range, regardless of displacement or RPM. So this does apply to your life. What we're going to be looking at in the dyno is going to be power and calibration. We're going to run them straight out of the box, then we're going to try and tune them up a little bit. So we're going to be able to rank all of them based on power alone, but we're also going to judge them based on price, appearance, and tunability. I do have one caveat to this entire thing, which is we're going to be testing these things only for wide open throttle performance. That's all we're going to know about how they drive. That's all we're going to know about how they are tuned up. Your results will vary driving these things around in part throttle, transient throttle positions, and things like that. So remember that as we go into the dyno and make this happen. We haven't even begun, and we've already got one demerit for the Summit carburetor. We fired it up with it running, and it had a hideous vacuum leak. It turns out this housing right here is hitting the intake manifold, and so we're gonna have to stack it with a couple of gaskets. No big deal. However, this is probably the most common intake manifold you would ever run with this carburetor, so this is good for you to know. We solved our problem with the Summit carburetor hitting the intake manifold. We're ready to run the thing, but look, I have new and extra information. We have a GoPro out there hanging right above the carburetor, and I have a live feed here so that I can watch it while Steve is running the thing, and we can have a look at like the atomization and if the air door is opening in the back or the butterflies.
Well, it's vacuum secondary, so on the dyno, sometimes that is problematic because...
Now we know.
Yeah.
So remember, we're gonna run these things straight out of the box first and then tune them up if they need it, but usually they're flawless directly out of the box.
He's going to tune it up if they need it.
Steve won't touch it.
I would look forward to it. It's gonna be my big break. I could get a new career as a carburetor tuner.
I think it's 100% open.
Yeah, but
based on the live view.
It doesn't really sound very good.
Doesn't sound good.
It was almost pulsing like a massage shower head in a hotel room.
I didn't notice that. Yeah.
That's almost creepy hearing you say that you're so intimate.
Well, you know what? I was a
head.
little self-conscious even mentioning it, but
Yeah.
Well, I'm embarrassed that I know this, but actually Steve likes volume instead of pressure, so he just takes the head completely off
yeah,
the shower.
I just run the open pipe usually.
Right.
That's the way I've got it set up at home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like a waterfall of
Stop.
just the open pipe is doing it.
I think the worst part is that I know that you do that.
Well, yeah, you can see me.
That's even creepier.
All right, let's do our show. We saw earlier that's a little lean on cruise. What do you think about the secondaries opening?
I think we should time just to verify and have some sort of target. I don't think they're opening all the way.
Okay.
And I'm basing that solely on fuel flow. I'm looking at fuel flow in the primary, and I don't know enough about the carburetor, but primary fuel flow is like 130 pounds. Secondary's 78 pounds.
Way out of whack.
Yeah, so it's flowing more through the front. Now, maybe all the engine needs, and it might not make any more power, but it's just biased to the primary now.
Yeah, what Steve's talking about is that on a vacuum secondary carburetor, sometimes we see that the secondary throttle blades do not open all the way on the dyno, and they wouldn't in the car either. And so what we do is go out there and put a zip tie on the linkage to mechanically force them to open all the way, and we'll either see a difference or we won't.
Yeah, just have, like I say, have a target. So
Just to
let me
know.
go take care of that.
I'll do that right now. How about that, guys?
Use
Oh
the
yeah, I
zip
forgot.
tie.
He's the carburetor guy today.
Right. Right, here we go now with the secondary butterflies zip tied so that they'll open mechanically. They're open more.
Now they're open.
Performs as it should.
That was killer.
I could see in the video that earlier I could see the screws on the throttle blades, and this time they were rolled all the way over.
Yeah.
It sounded
Yeah.
way cleaner, too.
Well, as soon as I rolled in and it made just looking at the incoming number at 3,000, it was at 415 pound-feet instead of 399
There
or
you
something.
go.
So I knew it was better.
Can we see if the fuel curve is still happy?
Now look how well balanced it is, primary to secondary.
Oh,
Yep,
yeah.
the
Perfectly
fuel flow
balanced.
primary and secondary is now the same.
That is some really valuable information if you have it to look at that fuel flow.
Let's look at the power versus the first pull without the zip tie. There you go. That is the difference between the power of a zip tie and no zip tie. So the actual answer to that, if you've got this carburetor in your car, is to mess around with the secondary spring, which actually controls rate and point of opening, but it'll also tend to open it more.
And I find that on just about any aftermarket carburetor that's vacuum secondary with a pod like that, they're always oversprung and they just don't open. You know, that's an area that you always have to look at. Look at the power you gain.
I know, it's massive. So that's a huge tip for you, just that right there. So our peak power right now is 472 horsepower, and the torque is actually 486.4, which, correct me if I'm wrong, is the best we've ever seen out of this engine. So that's a mind blower. So wow, mark me impressed.
Me too.
So now we're gonna go to the next most expensive carburetor, which is, I think, the remanufactured Edelbrock. Okay, boom, Edelbrock next.
All right. How come I like all the weirdo carburetors?
Because they're defiant in the face of the mainstream. Now we're gonna put on the Edelbrock.
The tried and true Edelbrock. Now the Edelbrock is basically the configuration very similar to an AFB, which
Right.
is a production carburetor dating back from when? Like the 1950s?
And one of the claims to fame of both this and the Summit carburetor that we tested earlier is that they say they don't leak because they have a lid on top and the gasket is above the fuel level, so it can't leak. I have a feeling you're going to get to jet this to your heart's content, or at least
boy.
metering rod it to your heart's content. Okay, so this is going to be the Edelbrock 750. Ready?
Here we go.
Was that air door open all the way? Was that as far as it goes?
I didn't even look at it.
I could still see the whole butterfly of it.
Oh, maybe that's why it was warbling instead of revving up cleanly.
Let's have a look at the data.
Didn't it sound a little distressed to you?
Not particularly.
No?
Yeah, it made 461.3 horsepower at 5,700, and the torque came in at 472.4 at 4,200 RPM. So it's down significantly from our first carburetor, but I think we've got some looking around to do.
Let's take a look at the air-fuel ratio
Yeah,
numbers.
for sure.
Yeah, it's certainly rich, wide open, kind of all the way through.
Oftentimes the dyno data can tell a tale.
Our air-fuel ratio is as rich as 11.8 and as lean as 12.4, but up at the top 12.1, almost a full ratio fatter than the prior carburetor.
It's a little rich, so the easiest tuning point on this is going to be the metering rod, because it's right up top and we can get to it.
Okay, I'll get you the kit.
All right.
Here comes the part of the show where Dulcich perfects the Edelbrock carburetor.
What I really like about these is the swing out access cover
Yeah.
for the metering rods. Like some older designs, AFB, you actually had to take the screw all the way out and remove the cover. These, you could just swing them out of the way, pull this out. Beware of the fact there's a spring in there.
So here's how these work. This is a metering rod, and there is a jet at the bottom of the bottom half of the carburetor, and the metering rod basically plugs the hole of the jet, and it's got steps in it so that it plugs less and less of the jet as it makes more power. So it's like a combination of a power valve and a jetting device at the same time. So here I've got the special tuning kit. Edelbrock sells a different part number tuning kit for most of the different carburetors that they sell. So you go in here and you look at the chart. So this is a 7042. We want a fatter first number, right?
The 42 has to go to something like 54, I think.
Which we don't have.
Really?
You're gonna have to go to the jet.
No!
He knows it's gonna take forever to take the lid off.
All right, one more screw to tighten up, and we've completed a jet change. We just went to the secondary, and we took a stab at it, going from what, a 407?
From a
Steve?
407, which is 107 thousandths,
To a
to a
398.
398.
Yeah. So we haven't done the math. It's just a ballpark, but I think it's going to get us pretty close. We're going to be back in the cell, firing this up, and hopefully it'll be just about right.
So the secondary jet in these things doesn't have the metering rod, right? It is
Correct.
just a jet.
That's correct.
Okay. All right, let's see.
Okay.
Okay, 12.4 to 12.6 to 1.
Good, yeah.
Much more where you wanted to be. But what did it do to the power? By the way, sometimes on these charts, if you're looking at them, you'll see this is fuel flow down here. And look at the difference here between black, which is...
That's the last run.
Yeah.
After
Okay,
jetting.
so black is a little bit leaner and red is the richer number. So it actually did improve.
Yeah, I want to go back and look and see what that air fuel was on the richer run. Yeah.
It was in the 11s. Now we're
Dropped down to the 11s on that. So,
Yeah, it leaned out by 1 full ratio.
yeah, and picked up power like
Yeah.
it's supposed to. I mean, it picked up 10 horsepower.
So the best that we think we can do with the Edelbrock carburetor is 472.5 pound-feet of torque, and we made 460 horsepower. But the real question is when you overlay that with the earlier Summit carburetor. No.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's still
Black line Edelbrock, red line Summit, and my personal opinion, that comes down to airflow. I think they call this Edelbrock a 750, but I think it's got so many things restricting airflow in the airstream and not very good secondary. You know, there's no radius into the barrels at all. There's a shear edge.
Right.
So final
Okay.
conclusion on that is that it was nowhere near as good as the Summit, but if it was on a 305 that was making 300 horsepower, it'd be way less of a difference between the two.
What kind of validates that, in my mind, is the way that the curve diverges. As airflow requirements increase, you know, the difference gets to be greater.
Okay, perfect. So now we move on to the Street Demon thermoquad looking thing. So you should get even happier.
Simple looking.
You really like the style of this car.
I can't
do.
believe you like the style so much. It's not
Well,
something that I thought would
it's,
appeal to you.
It reminds me a bit of the Millennium Falcon with the...
You guys ready to run the carburetor that looks like the box it came out of?
You're such a hater. You really
It's
are.
just a big square. I don't know.
It's like mid-century modern. It's beautiful. It's simplistic.
Okay, so this is the Street Demon carburetor that looks a lot like a thermoquad, but really isn't. So we're gonna see how it runs on the 383.
So there.
Well, it's a little chubby, but it made power. And that air door you can see in the video, it just thunk, falls right open.
Well, that's
Yeah.
my point, is it's not perfect and it's already good.
Yeah, you're right. I wonder if you had this in a car, would it do the, would it sound like a thermoquad?
I don't know, but you sound a lot like a thermoquad.
Okay, well, it's running a little bit rich, but nonetheless, it made 481 pound-feet of torque and 470 horsepower.
Wow.
So it is right in the neighborhood. You know what? We could lean this out and
I don't think it was
12
rich
too.
at the top or past peak torque. It was only at the very bottom that it was too rich.
Yeah, it was into the 11s, but then it, like I said, it's kind of got an arc to it. It goes up to 12.8, 12.9, and then we're
then
at
it comes
12.2.
down. So
if,
it'll be too lean in here when we lean
if
it
we
out.
jet it, then yeah, it's going to start to get to be a little not so good in there where
Yeah.
peak torque is. Here's with the Edelbrock.
Oh, there's the Street Demon compared with the Edelbrock. The Edelbrock being the red lines. What's interesting is the Edelbrock was a little bit better below, about 3,700.
No, we're a little fat with
And that's what the Edelbrock
Demon.
tuned and
Yeah.
jetted.
In conclusion, are we going to try and jet it, or are we too concerned that we're going to make it way too lean at peak torque?
When Troy brought the carburetor down, I believe he brought a calibration kit with it.
Really?
Oh,
I
boy.
swear.
Let's
I'm
go
outta here,
investigate
guys.
that. We're going to go tune the Street Demon. He's already out of the room. He can't wait. We're heading out to tune this thing, and I realized something that I find ludicrous, which is you cannot jet it without taking it off the manifold, flipping it upside down, and getting at the screws that hold it together under here. Of course, the plus side to that is it's all nice and smooth and pretty up top and has no fasteners. But Dulcich is going to attempt to fix the tune-up without having to do any of that monkey motion by going straight to those metering rods, which are very similar to what we described to you on the Edelbrock carburetor.
Okay, don't expect that to do much.
Now we're going to run the Street Demon with just a little bit of a fatter, meaning larger diameter metering rod in there in an attempt to lean it out a little bit. You know, Dulcich flippantly advised me to not expect much.
Look, I actually think it's going to be damn good. So just get that thing up to temp, pull the handle, and become amazed.
It was already good.
I know.
Yeah, it was.
It was good.
Maybe it'll make it better.
basically within 1 and 1 of our best pull.
Yeah, I was watching the carburetor the whole time to see if anything strange happened, like standoff or who knows what. I didn't see it. Here's our final power numbers with the Street Demon. We made 479.8 pound-feet of torque. I'm happy calling that 480. And up at the top, 470.6 horsepower. But the real story here is going to be overlaying these 3 carburetors and declaring a winner in overall horsepower.
Yeah, but there are a few points where that Demon is actually better by a little bit.
Oh yeah, right,
They're
leading up
swapping
to
places.
it, right?
Yeah, there's a weird wobble here, but the black line is Demon, the blue line's Edelbrock, the red line here is the Summit
I
carburetor.
would say a toss-up as far as those two on top-end performance.
But the Summit carb was a clear winner.
as far as torque.
Torque, yeah.
Yeah, from the jump
6
all the way
pound-feet
through
more.
through torque. It was the Summit carburetor. Man, that's almost too close to call. I think we have to go back to the 3-way ranking system in multiple categories. Okay, let's go with appearance.
Okay.
Rank them from 3 is the worst to 1 is the best. Brule.
Not the one I thought I would like the best, but it's the Demon's a 1. But the Summit, I guess, is a 2.
Okay, and Edelbrock 3. There you go. Dulcich.
I would give the Edelbrock a 1,
Okay.
and I would give the Summit a 2,
Yep.
and I give the Demon a 3.
Okay, I am actually going to go Summit 1, Edelbrock 2, Demon 3. So the appearance category done, let's move on to cost. And I can tell you what that is. It's not a judged category. So it is going to be the Summit carburetor is the best, followed by the Edelbrock, followed by the Demon. Ease of tuning.
I guess since you have to remove the Demon, I'll say the Demon's the worst. The Edelbrock's in between, and the Summit's, I guess, the easiest of what's there.
Okay, Dulcich.
Number 1, Summit doesn't need any tuning at all.
Okay.
Number 2, Edelbrock, because we tune it successfully. Number 3, Demon, you have to take the whole freaking thing off the engine.
Okay, and I think I'm gonna go exactly the same way. And then finally, we're gonna average the power numbers for all these carburetors, and we're gonna end up in the end with 4 different categories: appearance, tuning, cost, and power.
The Demon, 379.
Okay,
Edelbrock is 368. Summit is 380.5.
okay, so Summit wins, Demon comes in second, Edelbrock comes in third. So let's crunch the numbers and see what we've got overall. The overall winner is Summit first,
Yeah.
and then Edelbrock second, Demon third.
I guess the numbers don't lie.
Well, there's no question about the winner, because almost in every category we looked at, Summit carburetor was just outstanding piece.
And if we added a category for out of the box it works, Summit wins that too.
Yeah, I mean, when Steve was saying, well, we didn't have to tune it, I don't think that counts. It's how, if you have to tune it, how much work is it? So it's the winner if anybody really believes our ability to judge anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is questionable in itself.
Well, we just put opinion on top of facts, which is kind of what we do. Ready to go do that a little bit more outside?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Thanks, Brule.
Thanks.
I gotta be honest, I thought that the Summit carburetors were like the dorky kid that gets picked last for like dodgeball.
I know, but I liked it right away.
It killed, man.
I know.
I can't even believe it. But I have to say, all of these carburetors that we tested, I think for anything that's making less power than this, you know, they're a win. I think you pick them on appearance and features and tunability rather than on power, really.
Yeah, and actually none of them were real chumps on horsepower either. They were all pretty decent and very functional.
But conversely, I gotta be honest, if I'm trying to build myself like something that makes 600-700 horsepower, I'm not choosing any of these.
No, these are geared more towards the casual hobbyist who just want to bolt a carburetor on, do a minimal, if any, amount of tuning, and then just drive their car.
But by that measure, at least at wide open throttle, we don't know about drivability. Summit wins.
That's a very good carburetor.
Yep.
From what we've seen.
Still, I'm pretty proud of the shootout. It was really interesting and you loved it.
I know, I was like overjoyed.
And I hope you are too, because that is our goal with every episode of Engine Masters.
You just might want to check the adjustment of that GoPro. I conked my head into it.
It looks fine.
Okay. Nobody asked about my head though.
We'll run it under your open pipe.
It's like pointing a camera.
What's so weird about that? The only thing you can get is a low flow shower head these days.
So everything's rolling. Let's actually focus.
All right.
My smile's a mask, my voice preset, but loneliness is what I get. I text the void, I scan for you, but all I find is static truth. I cry in pixels, screaming code, still hoping someone breaks the mold.